Hey guys, welcome back. It's finally starting to feel like fall a little bit. With how hot and dry it's been, it was nice to have some colder temperatures this morning. The deer were definitely moving. But before we head to my son's soccer game, I wanted to film a video quick and talk about a few things that I'm focusing on this year during the early part of the hunting season. Now, there are going to be hunting strategies or things you're going to focus on that are going to remain consistent from year to year. And we talked about a few of those in the last video. We don't like hunting a lot of mornings in October. We do like hunting a lot more afternoons. We don't really like to get aggressive too early and push into our core. We mainly like to stay closer to the perimeter of the property or along the outskirts of what we'd consider a sanctuary. Those are the strategies that remain fairly consistent from year to year. It doesn't matter if it's 2020 or 2030. That's our approach to the early season for the most part. And why I say for the most part is because there are going to be things that change year to year. For example, if we do get a pattern on one of our target bucks in the early season, whether that's from observing him from observation stands or maybe a trail camera is telling us something, and we think that we can go in and have a chance at that deer, we are absolutely going to push in the early season to try to get a crack at him. Now, that doesn't happen every single year, but if we do have a buck that's huntable in the early season, we are absolutely going to go after him. Now, this year, early in the 2024 hunting season, that's not the case yet. We do have a couple bucks that we're keeping an eye on, but they're not really showing us a pattern that they're really huntable yet, so we are not going to be making a push to hunt those deer. But there are a few strategies that I will be focusing on this season, 2024, that are different from previous seasons. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about in this video. The first strategy that I want to talk about that we're focusing on our property here in Michigan is one that a lot of the Michigan hunters can focus on as well, along with the surrounding states. And that's that we're placing an extra emphasis on stands that overlook a water source. It has been extremely dry here for a long time, almost 2 months. We got a little bit of rain in August and a little bit of rain in September. So not a whole lot. Normally in the fall, you start to get a little bit more moisture, but that hasn't been the case yet this year. So a lot of those water sources are starting to dry up. That's why we're seeing in Michigan a lot of EHD outbreaks. It's one of the worst years that we've had in over a decade. 2012 was a pretty bad year for EHD, and it's looking like this year is going to be a really bad year as well, unfortunately. But the reason that it's a bad year for EHD is, again, because all those water sources are drying up. And deer, just like everything else, they need water to survive. So if you have a stand location that's overlooking a water source, whether that's a natural water source that has yet to dry up or a man-made water source, I would put a premium on that location. Again, because it is so dry, there isn't a lot of available water right now. And just because we're placing more focus on hunting over water this year, that doesn't mean that we don't like hunting over water any other year. We absolutely do. But again, because it's been so dry, the deer are hitting the water holes more this year compared to years with average or above average rainfall. Our cameras that are overlooking water sources are getting a lot of traffic right now. And it's not that they're just walking past that location. They're stopping to get a drink almost every single time before they move through, but both in the morning and in the afternoon. So again, if you have a stand location that's overlooking a water source, whether that's a man-made water source or a natural water source that has yet to dry up, I would be placing a premium on that stand location this hunting season. The second strategy that we're focusing on this year that's different from previous years, and a lot of you guys will be able to key on this as well, is hunting over acorns. This year on the properties that we hunt in Michigan, we had a bumper crop of acorns. There are so many acorns on the ground. I'm just looking around me and there's probably 200 to 300 acorns on the ground just right here. Now, I'm not sure what's in focus and what's not. Hopefully I am in focus, but if you can look over, my right shoulder, so camera left, these trees back here, those are mature red oaks. And the red oaks are primarily the trees that had the bumper crop of acorns this year. And there is a difference between a red oak acorn and a white oak acorn. Red oak acorns have more tannins in them compared to white oak acorns. This makes the red oak acorn a little bit more bitter, a little bit more acidic. And so these acorns tend to sit on the ground a little bit longer as those tannins kind of leach into the ground. The deer don't normally consume these acorns right away. Typically, they sit on the ground for a little while as those tannins, again, leach out into the ground, and the deer are selecting instead the sweeter white oak acorn. And again, because we have a ton of red oaks back there, but only a few white oaks, and the deer prefer the white oaks early on, this places a premium on those white oak acorns that are producing this year. And we do have a few stand locations that are in the vicinity of white oaks that are producing this year. So those are the stand locations that I would want to be keying on early season as those white oaks drop their acorns. I'm probably not going to walk back to my white oak stand to get any videos of those acorns, but I will get some B-roll of all the red oak acorns. And I'm telling you, there are so many acorns, but I have yet to see any deer in this area consuming the acorns. Again, because they normally let these red oaks sit on the ground as those tannins leach into the ground. Instead, they are targeting those white oak acorns. They step over and walk past thousands of red oak acorns to get to those white oaks. So if you have a white oak on your property that's dropping acorns this year, that is a great location to key on until those acorns are gone. And the last thing that I'm focusing on during the 2024 season, and probably more so during the early part of the season when it's a little warmer compared to when it's really cold, and this is gonna maybe relate to some of you, maybe not relate to others, but that's getting my kids out in the tree with me as many times as they want to. My son is 7 now. He's been hunting with me for a few years now. He's pretty involved in the process, whether that's sitting in the tree or helping track. But my daughter, she's 4 now, and she's showing some interest in going hunting. So I took her out the other night, and it was a good time. We saw a couple does. And that's something that's important to me and something that I'm going to be focusing on more this year, especially during the early part of the season when it's more comfortable for them to be out there. And that's taking my kids hunting. And I'm not going to lie, it can be challenging sometimes because there are locations that are only set up for one person that you want to go back to see what's going on back there, or maybe there's a deer that's moving around that you maybe have a chance at. And the more you hunt your property, the more pressure you're applying. Even those perimeter stands have an impact. Now, not nearly as much as those core stands, but they still have an impact. There's still hunting pressure that's being applied, and over time, the deer herd will recognize that. But that's something that's extremely important to me, getting my kids in the woods, allowing them to go sit with me whenever they want to, even if it means applying a little bit more pressure to the property. That's worth it to me. The only way any of us really learn anything, especially kids, is by going out and doing it. You know, we can read books or read articles, watch YouTube videos on something, but going out and actually doing it is the best way to learn. And again, I know this last one wasn't for everybody because not everybody has kids, but I did want to touch on it because it's something that I'm focusing on more this year compared to years past. Now, I've always involved my kids in the process, whether that's habitat improvements, you know, sitting with me every once in a while or helping track a deer. But this year, I really want to see if I can get them in the woods hunting with me more. That's the one area that they haven't done as much. They've done it, but they haven't done it as much. And so this year, I want to try to get them in the tree just so they can learn more about how deer move and they can kind of see why we do what we do. But that's going to do it for today's video, guys, on 3 things that I'm focusing on this year that's different than years past. Hopefully, those help you guys out. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.